Welcome in. Belly up. Have a seat. Grab a drink as we talk some Wingman fantasy. Oh man, fantasy football sucks. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 156, a Week 1's 2-point conversation. And as always, it's my great pleasure to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing tonight, Bernie?
How am I tonight? I'm a little bit tired. Of all of the losing going on.
There's been a lot of losing indeed. This was one of the worst opening fantasy football weeks I can remember off the top of my head, but we'll get into it a little more in depth. So in this show, guys, we will start off with some player news. We're going to go through the studs and duds of week number 1. We'll also settle into a nice week 1's 2-point conversation where we go through all of the week 1 action up to this point, and we take a look at some early waiver wire targets. And let's see, if there's time, we might do a little tip and trick to help you manage your fantasy rosters. Oh, and a little bit of a spoiler here. We've got a special guest going to join us a little later today. But before we get any further along, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, let's get right into it. Let's get into some player news. Starting off with we have Xavier Worthy left Friday night's game right when it started in the third play of the game in their game in Brazil against who they play, the Chargers, with an apparent shoulder injury. There is still some diagnosis to take place here. So we're not sure how long he's going to miss, but I'm thinking he's going to miss at least a couple weeks as a speculative note here. Moving along, we have Quinshon Judkins actually did sign with the Browns over the weekend, and he's allowed to practice with the team without taking up a spot on the 53-man roster for up to 2 weeks, although there are indications that he may be activated for week number 2. Darnell Mooney was inactive on Sunday. He went into this week as questionable with a shoulder injury, but he was not able to suit up. And a little bit of a surprise, as I guess I've been putting this guy a little higher on the totem pole than he deserves. Chris Rodriguez, Commanders running back, was a healthy scratch, and Bill Krosky-Merritt handled most of the running back downs on Sunday with great effect. All right, what do you have on these players here? Xavier Worthy, Quinshon Judkins, Darnell Mooney, and Chris Rodriguez with Bill Krosky-Merritt.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy, that's a tough loss right there. Hollywood Brown, he's going to emerge as the wide receiver 1 with Worthy sideline. With Rashee Rice suspended for 5+ games, I think, and Worthy's injury, creating uncertainty about his timeline. Hollywood Brown is the primary target for Patrick Mahomes, and he's available in almost like 25% of Yahoo leagues right now. So Quinshon Judkins. I apologize in advance for these names, folks. Expected to debut in week 2 for the Ravens. He's scheduled to meet with the NFL the next week over its investigations, but barring any issues, he's likely to make his debut against Baltimore, with Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson leading the backfield in week 1, though. Darnell Mooney, strong 2024 foundation with consolidated target tree manipulated Mooney's. He posted a wide receiver 3-4 finish last season. He's getting about 20% of the target share, averaging about 62 yards per game. So with Darnell Mooney, Drake London's going to be the go-to. So we'll just leave it at that. I did watch that game. As you can tell, I'm wearing the gear. McLeod, he runs excellent routes. And they've got the other guy, his name slips my mind. So I think the Falcons are going to be okay there. Chris Rodriguez Jr., he with Brian Robinson traded away, Rodriguez, he projected as the goal line back anyway. So I'm not too worried about that. He was only rostered in about 6% of the leagues anyway.
All right, moving along here, we had Travis Hunter. There was a little bit of ambiguity in his role heading into the weekend, but it cleared up going into Sunday morning, and it definitely cleared up after watching the game. Travis Hunter played the majority of the offensive snaps on Sunday while playing sparingly on the defensive side. The coaches, however, said that this is going to be a week-to-week game plan. That's what they say now anyway. So his ratio of offense to defense may be fluctuating throughout the season. Brock Bowers had a very fine game today, but he did tweak his knee late in the game against the Patriots. He said he's going to be fine going forward. You mentioned before Drake London, and a lot of diving catch attempts towards the end of that game exited late on Sunday as he deals now with a shoulder injury. The severity of this injury is also unknown at this time. I'm thinking he didn't get back in just because it was so late in the game. I think if there was 10 minutes left, they probably would have cleared him to come back in, but I don't know that for sure. And this one goes out to you, Bernie. Daniel Jones is simply the best quarterback in the NFL. All right, what do you have on these guys? Hunter, Bowers, Drake London, and your favorite QB, Daniel Jones.
Well, Travis Hunter, it's great to see this guy on the field. I hope that everything is good to go here. He definitely played well. I saw a little bit of that game. His catches were on point. I just worry about his durability because this is the NFL. But
Yeah.
he's good to go. Yeah. Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is Brock Bowers, man. It's nothing more to say there. Drake London, like you said, I think he's going to be okay. Maybe a little tweak, a little rest, a little ice bath. He'll be fine. But let's get into Daniel Jones. Let's get into this perfect debut performance. Jones led the Colts to score on all 7 possessions against the Miami Dolphins. He threw for 272 yards with 1 passing touchdown, adding 2 rushing touchdowns in a dominant performance. I know we'll get into the studs and duds later, but I just got to say it. We got to say it like at least 3 or 4 times in this episode.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. The wingback mountain here for Daniel Jones can now be reignited as he is a playable player. All right, we moving along here. We've got Christian McCaffrey. Man, this was a little scary. He had a late practice week injury pop up on Thursday and Friday, but he was in the walkthrough on Saturday. He was projected to be active all weekend after Friday, of course, and he was in fact active. And as far as I could tell, he handled the boatload of the carries, and he got a ton of work today. And I didn't see any setbacks, and I haven't read of any setbacks as of this point. Jaden Reed was active on Sunday as well, and I thought he performed quite well. I think he's their best receiver when healthy. The only issue with him was that injury to the Jones fracture in his foot, but he was out there today. I don't know his snap percentage, but I noticed him out there a lot, getting some big catches down the middle of the field. George Kittle, I was getting ready to text Bernie saying, you've got the steal of the draft. He was so on fire that first drive, had 4 catches in the first 6 plays, including a touchdown, but he left the game early on Sunday with a hamstring injury. At least he did the courtesy of getting in the end zone before he left. And his teammate, Juwan Jennings, was unable to finish the game for the 49ers against those Seahawks. He, too, with a shoulder injury, and an MRI in the next day or two will determine the severity of that injury. What do you have on these last 4 guys on our list here?
Yeah, let's start with the 49ers guys here. Kittle, very, very unfortunate. Hopefully they knew and they thought that they were going to take this game without needing him to be in there, and they're just playing really, really cautious with him because it's the game 1. But he did look like a stud, and the game plan for them looked like they were going to utilize the tight end spot. The guys that came in behind him at the tight end spot, they were getting the looks, they were getting the targets. So that's a good sign. Hopefully this is week at the most, and then he's back on the field. Juwan Jennings, though, with the receivers going out like this, CMC looked good. I think it'll be okay, but Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk out, it's really going to be tough for Brock Purdy to get this going against some tougher defenses. So hopefully Juwan Jennings and George Kittle could get back sooner than later.
Yeah, we'll break in these games a little further down when we get into them in our conversation to find out what players might have stepped up or what players we might need to step up with these injuries going forward. All right, now it is time. It is time to take a look at this week's studs and duds.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, Wingman Fantasy Football, studs and duds.
All right, Bernie, why don't you start us off with the top of our studs list for week 1?
All right, top of the list goes to Mr. Justin Fields. Everybody's getting a second chance this year.
That was the wrong sound. Let me do it. Say Justin Fields one more time for me.
All right, and starting off with Mr. Justin Fields.
Feels forever.
That's
There
right.
it is. Wrong Beatles drop. Sorry about that.
Wrong Beetle drop. Everybody's getting a second chance this year. 29.52 fantasy points, 218 passing yards, 48 rushing yards, 1 passing touchdowns. But here it is, 2 rushing touchdowns. And this guy plays for the Jets. I'm sorry for the Jets running backs. Next up, another new face, new place, old face, Daniel Jones, 29.48 fantasy points, 272 passing yards, 26 rushing yards, 1 passing touchdowns. And he said, "Hey, Justin Fields, slow your roll, buddy. I can run no matter how much Mike doesn't think I can run." 2 rushing touchdowns for Mr. Daniel Jones. And Justin Herbert, what's going on here? 27.92 points, 318 passing yards. He's like a drop back passer, man. 32 rushing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. And good to see him on this list. I know there's a lot of people out there that throw a lot of shade his way because they just don't like the Chiefs or Patrick Mahomes. Patty Mahomes, 26.02 fantasy points, 258 passing yards, 57 rushing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Continuing along. Yep. Continuing along with our studs here, another old face in a new place. We have Aaron Rodgers at 25.76 points. He wasn't doing too much throughout the game, but as the game went on, these stats piled up. Finished with 244 yards and four passing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, as he always does, gets most of his work done in one half. This time it was the first half, finishing with 24.28 points as he got 152 passing yards, 62 rushing yards, and he got in the end zone twice on his own. Michael Penix Jr. in furious comeback mode, and he did his part. He had 24.02 points as he had 298 passing yards, 21 rushing yards on the ground, and they were all big runs for first downs and or touchdowns with a passing TD and a rushing TD. And Stone Hands himself, Q Quentin Johnston, on Friday night in Sao Paulo had 22.4 points on 79 receiving yards on 5 receptions, and 2 of those catches got him in the end zone.
All right, this next set, oh man, I apologize for all your names now. Emeka Ekbuka, 21.6 points, 76 total yards, 4 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. That is a great ratio from touchdowns to receptions. And Mr. Bijan Robinson,
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
21.4 points, 124 total yards, 6 receptions, and 1 touchdowns. Javonte Williams coming in strong with 19.4 points, only 64 total yards, only 2 receptions, but they were both touchdowns. 2 touchdowns from Mr. Javonte Williams. And Deebo Samuel.
Who? Deebo.
18.9 points, 96 total yards, almost got to that century point. 7 receptions and 1 touchdown for Deebo.
All right, moving along here, we have Garrett Wilson, the Beach Boy himself, had 19 points at 95 receiving yards, 7 catches, and he got in the end zone on a beautiful toss from Justin Fields. Christian McCaffrey makes this list without getting in the end zone. He had 18.7 points on 142 total yards and 9 receptions. Look, he might be back, folks. If he gets in the end zone, he's going to have a mecha stud performance. Puka Nacua.
Hakuna Matata.
18.1 points. This guy was getting his head bashed all day over the middle. Did it repeatedly, kept getting up, and kept catching the ball. 130 receiving yards on 10 receptions and kept getting checked for concussions, and he just said, I am good. I picked the wrong Jacksonville running back, but the idea was right. We have Travis Etienne, Senior Mweebien, at 17.1 points. He had 156 total yards with also 3 receptions.
And here's a name that we don't get to say a lot, Mr. Michael Pittman, coming in with 17 strong points, 80 receiving yards, 6 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And Cam Little, the sky is falling, and it's raining field goals. 4 field goals, 2-point afters for 16.6 points. Spencer Schrader, he's also kicking 4 field goals, but with 3 points after, and that's 16.5 points. And the last kicker on my list here is Mr. Joey Sly, 16 points, 4 field goals, and one that was 50-plus yards.
We're going to keep on with kickers. As you may or may not know, we changed our rules to get these fractional points, and it bumped up some of these long kicks. There were some long kicks today. Chris Boswell was a stud. He only made 2 field goals, but he had 4-point afters, but both of his field goals were over 50 yards, including a 60-yard game or kick that took the lead late in the game. He finished with 15.6 points. Also, Kai May Fairbairn.
Care Bears, stare!
Told you I loved them. The Fairbairn stare came through once again at 14.9 points with 3 field goals. 2 of those were over 50 yards. We have one defense who made the list, the Denver defense at 12.25 points. They were able to hold who'd they play? They played the Tennessee Titans. They held the Titans to 133 total yards. They accumulated 6 sacks, got 2 fumble recoveries, and they had 1 fourth down stop. And our last player in the stud list is Harrison Butker at 12.1 points. He had 3 field goals. One was a 50-plus yarder on a fire drill at the end of the first half to bang a 59-yard kick with no timeouts and time expiring. All right, guys, the stud list here is what it is, and unfortunately, our dud list is even longer. Bernie, why don't you start off with some of our duds for week 1?
Oh, this goes out to everybody in the chat group that doesn't like the Dolphins anymore. Tua, 11.26 points. Moving along, Russell Wilson. Now, Russ, I'm not mad at Russ. Russ played good. He's just not on the best team in the world, but 11.12 points for Russ. CJ Stroud, tough matchup, tough game. 10.72 points. Not mad at you, but this guy, I'm a little bit mad at. Joe Burrow. 8.82 points. Joe Burrow is looking at the other side. He's looking at Justin Fields. He's looking at Daniel Jones. He's looking at Justin Herbert. He's looking at Patrick Mahomes going, these guys are studs. I should be on that list. But Joe, you only got 8.82 points today.
Continuing the trend here of quarterbacks that let their managers down, Dak Prescott could only get 7.82 points. Sam Darnold, that pumpkin has popped. That's not exactly how the saying goes, but nonetheless, he only had 7.4 points, but in a tough matchup against the 49ers. Cam Ward, not Cam Thomas, that's a basketball player. Cam Ward had, in his rookie debut, had tough going, completed barely 50% of his passes, only got 4.48 points. And Tyreek Hill continued his lackluster production from last year, getting only 6 points in today's game.
Oh, and then this guy, one of my favorite players just in general, Mr. Nick Chubb, had a rough going, only 6 points this round. Jalen Waddle, another Dolphin on the list. This is 3 Dolphins already on the top of this stud list. 5 points for Mr. Waddle. T. Higgins, yeah, if your quarterback's here, you're probably here too, 4.8 points. And Calvin Ridley, the roller coaster is starting low, 4.7 points for Calvin.
Keeping along with these dud lists, like I said, we had a lot of low-scoring games. Jamison Williams, all these guys changed their number this year. It's really freaking me out. Jamison Williams had 4.6 points. George Pickens, where were you, man? 4.5 points. Tyrone Tracy had 4.5 points. And first-round pick, Nico Collins. Come on, dude. I needed some help. 4 points even.
All right, here's one that I'm not surprised at because he's sitting on my bench and he probably would have been starting anywhere else. Kenneth Walker, 3.9 points. Isaiah Pacheco, he's running hard. He's stomping the ground, but only for 3.8 points. Scary Terry, that's a scary, scary line, Terry. That's only 3.7 points for Mr. McLaurin. And Ramondre Stevenson, 3.7 points. Not very manly.
All right, we mentioned Nico Collins as a first-round dud for receiver. How about this guy, the first overall pick taken, Jamar Chase, our second Bengal on the dud list. Jamar Chase only had 3.6 points. Devontae Smith from the Eagles had 3.1. Juwan Jennings, our second holdout receiver to be on the dud list. We told you guys it's going to take him at least a couple weeks. If you're lucky, Juwan Jennings is our second holdout on the dud list at 2.6 points. And a little bit unfortunate for this guy here. And I didn't see him get hurt or anything, but Matthew Golden was touted all offseason. The rookie receiver for Green Bay could only muster 2.6 points.
Man, this list is long, Mike. I got to take a sip here before we keep going. A lot of duds this week here, buddy. Oh, Cooper Kupp is coming up next with 2.5 points. Josh Downs, 2.2 points. Rashad White, 2.1 points. AJ Brown, AJ Book Club Brown, 1.3 points. Get your nose out of the book, son. You don't need to make good grades to play in this sport.
All right, finishing up here, we had Jerome Ford. They said the news reports he's going to be the bell cow. I don't know what bell he was cowing. I don't know. He only had 1.3 points. And Tank Bigsby, Tank Bigsby. I had him as the start of the week. I'm dumb. I picked the wrong Jacksonville running back. I thought they were going to split carries at the minimum, but nope. It was all Etienne, and Tank Bigsby suffered, only getting 1.2 points. And unfortunately, we've got two gooses to end the day here. One was due to injury. Xavier Worthy had 0.0 points, but this one is a little surprising. We know Jalen Warren got the extension for Pittsburgh, but rookie Caleb Johnson only got a couple carries and couldn't even get in the black. He finished with, I'm not going to remember this, am I? He finished with 0.0 points. All right, we got it. All right, guys, usually whenever we have these studs and duds, there's also some players that elevate even higher than this list. We have our Mecha Studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, you might be thinking to yourself, I don't remember any spectacular days today. Well, you are right. There are no Mecha Studs this week up until the conclusion of the 4 o'clock games. I've got this Baltimore-Buffalo game on, and it looks like we might have some Mecha Studs in this game, but they don't make the cut in terms of time frame here. So we have 0 Mecha Studs for our week 1 studs and duds. How does this make you feel, how low of an output we had this first week?
You know, I am bummed, but I'm not surprised. It's week 1. We, what are we? Are we pundits? Are we analysts? What are we talking heads?
We're Joe Schmoes.
We're a couple of guys with camera phones and microphones. Okay, so I think that this is interesting, but it does give us a baseline for what's going on with these teams, what's going on with the conditioning, what's going on with schemes, coaches. But I'm afraid that we're going to make adjustments based on week 1, and then week 2, the dud and stud list might be completely flipped.
All right, guys, now it's time. Let's break down a little bit more how these games went and how these duds and some studs performed and their outcomes here. Let's get into this week's 2-point conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for 2 here,
He's going for 2.
The Raiders will go for 2 and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Wingman Fantasy Football's 2-point conversation.
And it's good! Oh my goodness!
All right, Bernie, why don't you lead us the way through this week's 2-point conversation?
All right, let's go back to Thursday. Philadelphia Eagles 24, Dallas Cowboys 20. Jalen Hurts rushed for 2 touchdowns for the Eagles. He lost a hot-tempered star in Jalen Carter early for spitting on Dak Prescott, then withstood a rare weather delay, and then needed a late stop to beat the Dallas Cowboys. It was everything was in this game. Like I said, Carter was ejected before the first snap. He hurt his team. Unprecedented start of the season here. CeeDee Lamb had 7 catches for 110 yards, but he failed to reel in a pivotal catch in the second half, and key drops cost Dallas that game.
Yeah, I was going to start with the beginning, but you mentioned there at the end that those CeeDee Lamb, I thought he looked really good through that first half. I don't know when the demarcation was, if it was that delay or that weather delay or not, but he had a lot of big drops that I've seen him make countless times in the past, and it really hurt the outcome of the win or loss in terms of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, for sure. All right, moving on here. We got Friday's game. Los Angeles Chargers 27, Kansas City Chiefs 21. And this one was played down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Justin Herbert finished off the Los Angeles Chargers season opening victory in style. Herbert diced up the Kansas City Chiefs for 394 yards, 318 coming through the air. The Chargers, they pretty much just exercised divisional demons. They ended a 7-game losing streak to KC dating back to 2021. Unfortunately, Xavier Worthy collided with tight end Travis Kelce while running a mesh concept on the third down and took the full force of Kelce on his right shoulder, knocking him out of action for the night.
Yeah, they're saying it's a dislocation right at this moment, and he's going to, at some point, going to try and play with like how Dalvin Cook used to have the shoulder harness, but they haven't said how long it's going to take before he gets back on the field. So it's one of those things like if they can keep it in place, he'll get on the field sooner or later, but I think he's going to miss at least a week, if not 2.
Yeah. So, all right. Now
it was weird. Hold on.
Oh,
go ahead. Are you staying here at this game?
Yeah, no, we can. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to say, I've had Patrick Mahomes on my team the last 2 years. I've had Herbert on my team the last 3 years, I think. So I went in this game with a little bit of and I had Kelce on my team this year. So I went in this game with personal rooting interest for players, even though none of these guys were in my lineup, and I don't have Mahomes this year. But I was surprised. You know, sometimes when you sit down and watch a game that you really don't have a true rooting interest, how you find yourself start rooting against or for a team after a few minutes of watching. And I don't like the Chiefs anymore. I don't like them. I don't know what happened. Usually it was because they weren't putting up points and were like they stopped being fun. Fantasy-wise, Patrick Mahomes had one of his better days in a couple of years, honestly, running the ball a lot. But even when they were running, I'm like, I was just humping and sighing. I was like, whatever, guys. I was not enjoying watching the Chiefs play once again.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I actually enjoy watching the Chiefs play, and I think I might be with you and a lot of other people that we know. But I'm not to the point where I don't like them. I think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes might be the best coach quarterback combination we've had in quite some time. So I'm not down on them as that way, but I have the lackluster has kind of, everything's kind of faded away now. It's not as exciting to watch them.
Yeah, I was just surprised that was my instinct. I don't think it's right or wrong necessarily. I think you're probably in the better place. Like you're a little bored with them, but you don't have any ill will. But I was like, I'm past I'm bored with them. I'm like, you guys get out of my face.
Well, and we do get to see a lot of Chiefs in non-NFL formats with the insurance commercials and all the other stuff that they're doing with T-Mobile. It's like we see a lot of them. It's oversaturation, I think.
Before we move on, actually, I do want to break this game down a little bit more. Not too much here. I don't know if it had to do with Xavier Worthy being knocked out. I'm sure he was a big part of their game plan. But Hollywood Brown was targeted quite a bit. I thought he caught almost everything that went his way that was catchable. He might have dropped one that got to his hands. But for the most part, I felt like he was playing the DeAndre Hopkins role from late last year, in breaking routes over the deep middle of the field. And he was catching most of them. He was very effective in that role. Juju Smith-Schuster was kind of like the spell guy. He came in and made a couple catches as like a third or fourth receiver for the team. Isaiah Pacheco could not get going at all. It might have to do a little bit with the defense of the Chargers. The Chargers defense looked dominant in that game. Derwin James was back to true form after a few years of injuries. He was amazing. Every time there was a big tackle in the flat to stop a 3rd and 4, tackling before the first down marker, it was Derwin James on every side of the field. I was very impressed with the Chargers defense. Amaro and Hampton did fine. Nothing special there. Najee Harris only had 1 carry, although I thought he was on the field a little more than that would indicate. Definitely Hampton was on the field more, but I think they trusted Najee with more of like the blitz pickups, kind of like that Javonte Williams role. He didn't get the ball, but he was on the field more than his stats would indicate. So, and for all the talk about Greg Roman's running offenses, they let Justin Herbert throw that ball, and he hit everybody. McConkey had between 7 and 9 catches. Keenan Allen had between 7 and 9 catches. Quentin Johnson had the longer plays for the touchdowns. It felt like McConkey took a step back because he was sharing it, but they still got the 7 to 10 targets, all these receivers. It was fun to watch Herbert finally be able to throw the ball around the field again.
Yeah, and I think that on the Charger side, that comes down to that coach. That coach played a great game. That was a strategic game. He knew what his offense could do against the Chiefs' defense, and he exploited it. And I think that's what separates, those teams that are good, that could get them over the edge is that coaching. And it really comes down to it, like we talked about last week on 4th and long. You want that O line, or do you want that elite skill position? Maybe there's a third option there. Maybe it's actual smart coaching, actual game planning, actual motivation. Justin Herbert looked great, but I think that's going to be the other thing we have to worry about is come next week. Who are they playing? What's that game plan going to be? Is it the obvious, oh, this is what they should be doing? And then the coach comes and does the thing that nobody's expecting and runs all over the team again.
All right. What's our next game on the docket?
All right. Next up is our first Sunday game. And we're going to start with the Indianapolis Colts 33, Miami Dolphins 8.
So
Jones,
I'm just going to start. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to start. All of a sudden, my son is like a sports fan. He wasn't a sports fan his whole life. He's turning a teenager. I think because he's playing Madden football and NBA 2K, and he's like, oh, he's at 84 rating. That guy should be good. It's like he's looking at that way. But he was like, when do the Dolphins play? He loves in the video game. He loves Jalen Waddle. It's his favorite player. It's the weirdest thing. But he's like, he got up, he sat with me, he watched the game, and he was very he was like every third down, he was like, come on, let's stop him. And this game, the Dolphins would hold him to third down. I felt like the Colts converted like 9 out of 12 third downs, and the 3 times they didn't convert on third down, they went 2 out of 3 on fourth downs, if not 3 out of 3. They could not stop the Colts. You mentioned it in the earlier part of the show that the Colts scored every time down the field. It was just a debacle, and Tua, I don't know, he was throwing interceptions, but like not near any. It was just an atrocious game all around. The running game was not good. The passing game was awful, and the Colts took advantage, and they looked really good. What do you think about because I kind of was watching that game a little bit, but it was hard to watch the way it was going. I know you have Jonathan Taylor. He's part of your wingback crew here. He looked decent, but Daniel Jones was getting the rushing touchdowns, but he didn't play in that second half. I thought they were just resting him because the game was out of reach. But there's some reports that Jonathan Taylor might have tweaked something. I didn't get that indication there, but what's your thoughts on his performance and whether or not he might be a little banged up in the future going forward?
Yeah, I think he'll be okay. His performance, I saw a couple of series with him, and he looked good in the flats, coming out of the backfield, catching the ball. He looked strong with his cuts. Again, it's one of those things we're looking at who they're playing, and they were playing a team that just never showed up. So, how much of that is equated to that? As far as the tweak goes, maybe he felt a little something off. But I think the game was out of hand where they're just like, you know what, you got a history. Let's just pull him out now. There's no need to risk it. And then also I think that equates to Daniel Jones also saying, hey, remember me? This is why they paid me the big bucks in New Jersey. Let's not get it twisted here. That team sucked. This team's at least decent. I can come out and win with this team.
I will say whether it was rest or cautiousness in terms of an injury, I don't know if he's a rookie or not. I'm assuming he's a rookie. Giddens, the backup for the Colts, he looked good in that fourth quarter, late third quarter. He was doing chunk plays all day long, and you did a good job getting the handcuff there. And you might have to deploy that handcuff earlier than you thought, but I thought he looked fine. Of course, that game was the Dolphins were very defeated in that latter second half, so it's hard to say how much of that was due to skill or just due to a team quitting, which is not good, obviously. But Giddens looked good. In terms of I didn't see Anthony Richardson on the sideline at all. The few times I was looking up, like I didn't, sometimes like when a quarterback comes off, the backup, especially if they're guys who are kind of competing with each other, will kind of talk with each other and kind of show each other notes. I'm not saying he wasn't there. I don't stare at all the games on today, so my eyes were bouncing. But the few times I was seeing Daniel Jones go to the sideline after some sort of play, I didn't see Anthony Richardson anywhere behind him, anywhere following him, even sitting down on the bench. So I don't know where he was. But in years past here, we know Anthony Richardson has a certain style of receiver he likes. The guys just going deep. The Alec Pierces, for example. Did you happen to notice Michael Pittman made this list? Was he hyper-targeting Pittman? Did he have a favorite? Oh, I do want to mention one more person. I'll ask you that first, and then I'll chime in after. Did you notice that he had a favorite type of receiver he was looking at, or was he kind of spreading the ball around?
No, I don't think he was favoring anybody in particular. I think he was going through his progressions as needed. But I just think that if you were higher up on the progression chart, that you're more than likely getting the ball just because of the lackluster defense.
I will say, as I was asking that, I kind of had an answer pop in my head, obviously, by the way I reacted there. Last year, we had Brock Bowers as a very smooth and technically well proficient tight end. The year before, we had Laporta, who was just a big beast who could catch and rumble. This Tyler Warren, man, he is a Kittle descendant. I think he is just a madman out there, like super athletic. He caught the ball running out to the right flat, and before he could see the defense, he did a jump cut back inside away from two oncoming defenders who were going to hit him in his back and turned up field. He is athletic, quick, and a nasty looking kind of guy, like a a mean slobbering tight end. And he was very impressive in his rookie debut.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with everything you said because I can't really hear you that great, but I'm going to agree. And I think that you make some excellent points there.
All right. Give me 1/2 second here. I apologize. Sorry, we lost contact there a little bit. I was just mentioning how good Tyler Warren looked, how much of a slobbery, kind of messy man he was out there catching the ball and running down the field. How do you think that the rookie tight end did in his debut today?
I think he did good. And I think the Colts are notorious for that. They've always had a decent tight end play, whether they're playing 11 or not. I think that it's good. The coach and the quarterback and that tight end group are on the same page. So going forward, I wouldn't be surprised to see more of that worked out, especially if Taylor is coming out of the backfield and they're giving them that option as well. So there might be a little double threat option there.
Hate to break the wall here, but DeAndre Hopkins just had a lunging one-handed catch in the end zone. The Baltimore Ravens are putting on some points. Sorry about that. It just caught my attention. Hey, you know who else has something to say about this particular game? Why don't we check in on the press conference of the coach of the Dolphins, Coach Mike. Let's see what he has to say about today's debacle.
Well, when it came to today for preparation, we did our best to prepare ourselves to be the best that we could be today, and that starts with me, as I'm the leader of this team and preparing this team and trying to make it the best it can be with the leaders of the team, and we want to be our best. So I instill that in our players, and I trust that they'll do that. Today we fell short, and stuff. But we'll use this as fuel, and we'll get ourselves to be more prepared for next time, as I'll prepare us, and that's good to be prepared, because the only way you can prepare yourself is to prepare, and the more you prepare, the better you'll be equipped to handle such adversity and stuff. So we're gonna do that, and hopefully I have my job next week. I love my job. I love these players. I love the players. I love coming to the job where the players are. And when I come to work where my job is and the players are, that's when we do our best work, when we come to prepare for what's going to come out in front of us. So with that being said, I hope I answered your question. And yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. That was very succinct and well explained on how awful your team did today. Next time we'll ask you a question about some specific players and see if you have any thoughts on how they perform. But we'll just move past this game right now. Good. Thanks, Coach Mike. Hope you're there next week so we can come back to you for another press conference. All right. What's the next game on our docket here today?
All right, Pittsburgh Steelers 34, New York Jets 32 in a nail biter. There was 7 lead changes in this thriller. Aaron Rodgers 4 touchdowns, Chris Boswell 60-yard field goal. He lifted the Steelers past Justin Fields and the Jets. But Fields went 16 of 22, like we said earlier, 218 passing yards. He looked good. He threw a nice 33-yard beauty to Garrett Wilson. He added another 2 scores on the ground. It just came down to it, 2 points down with a minute 8 to go in the fourth quarter. but they were unable to find any go-to rhythm to get it out. They were just going for it out at the end there, but they played good. Justin Fields played good. I hate to say this, but Aaron Rodgers looked good. But it's exciting to see both of these teams on the up and up.
So this game, I thought the Jets, at least stat-wise, thoroughly outplayed the Steelers. DK Metcalf didn't do too much. He finished okay because he was the only guy getting targeted. He caught a couple lucky bouncing balls throughout the day. Their running game was not that good. Jaylen Warren does what he would do as a backup, but he was the only one getting the work. He finally broke a touchdown late. I think it was actually like a cross screen pass. He caught a touchdown late to make his day actually look pretty good. But until then, he wasn't doing too much. Caleb Johnson, we mentioned, only got a couple carries, couldn't even get positive yardage here. In terms of the Jets, the thing that caught my attention the most, granted I'm a little biased here due to my roster, Breece Hall was the best running back for the Jets, got the most work. They did, however, take him out in some short yardage situation. Braylon Allen got the rushing touchdown, but Breece Allen looked, last year he was hurt in that second half of the year with that knee injury. He looked good on the field, but he also looked good. I don't know if you recall last year, whenever they were coming off fields on third down, maybe it was because he was hurt, maybe because Aaron Rodgers was sulking and sighing, but he looked confident even walking around with his teammates. Like he's like, I got this jam. And he looked great. If he would have scored, he would have had a great day, over 150 yards of total offense today. And honestly, the Jets had a chance to put this one away, but the Steelers scored, and then the kickoff, the Jets fumbled the kickoff, gave it right back to the Steelers somewhere in the middle of the third quarter, I believe, maybe late third quarter. And the Steelers got back-to-back touchdowns that brought this game right back to where they were flipping scores back and forth for those last 10 minutes or so. That fumble was huge. That really turned out because Justin Fields is kind of he can run out the clock kind of quarterback, because with those legs, get those random first downs on 3rd and 6. But to ask him to pass to get big 3rd and longs on these last drives, he struggled a little bit. He kept them alive as much as he could, but they're better playing with the lead. That fumble on special teams might have been the difference maker. And the huge kick, of course, by Boswell, the 60-yard kick to take the lead with, about 3 minutes to go, was a huge kick, his longest kick of his career on the road there. And it was an awesome play by the Pittsburgh Steelers in terms of situational plays towards the end. But the Jets outplayed them if you look at the total numbers.
Yeah. The Jets look good. I hate to say that. Justin Fields and, like I said, Garrett Wilson's connection. I think they used to play together in college or something. They got chemistry already, so they look good. They look good together. All right, moving along.
Yep.
All right, Cincinnati Bengals 17, Cleveland Browns 16. A nail biter in Ohio. This was a division rivalry, close AFC North battle for a season opener. It was a good game if you were a fan of either one of those teams in that rivalry. But the Browns, they were just unable to convert some late opportunities. They could have won this game.
So we went into this one little curious about the running back room for the Browns, just a little curious. They said Jerome Ford was going to be the main back. We had this rookie, Dylan Sampson, who was getting some buzz, but he was a late round pick. And then I see a rushing touchdown early for the Browns. I'm like, who is that? I see an S on the back of his name. Is that Dylan Sampson? Doesn't look like it. What was it? It was Raheem, Shader or something. What was his name? Did you happen to have that somewhere? Yeah, the first touchdown was a running back I've never even heard of. My son knew about him because he saw him in Madden. He's like, oh, yeah, he's like a 68. He used to mention that. Or something like that. But so he knew his name. I don't know how. But of all these running backs we heard about, this first guy that we've never heard about got the rushing touchdown. And this game was close with backup tight ends getting the touchdowns, backup running backs. And I swear the Browns kept stopping the Bengals in that fourth quarter being down by 1 point. Myles Garrett, every time I looked up, was getting big-time sacks or tackles for losses. Mm-hmm. And I thought for sure that the Browns were going to win this game. They had 3 opportunities in the fourth quarter with the ball down by 1 point. And every time I looked up, they didn't have the ball again. They must have kept going 3 and out or something. There was just no offense in the latter part of this game. It stayed 17-16 for about 14 minutes, and that was the final.
Yeah. So it's a sloppy game if you're looking at fantasy like we are. But as far as a football game goes, that seemed like a typical Bengals-Brown football game, honestly. All right, moving along. Let's get into something a little bit more exciting. Let's go to Vegas. The Las Vegas Raiders 20, the New England Patriots 13. That puts a smile on my face. The Patriots struggled. I mean, that's plain and simple. Drake May just didn't look like the hype that was coming out of the offseason for Drake May. A defensive battle with a fairly low score. So not too much excitement going on here. Obviously, Brock Bowers and stuff like that. But I thought Geno Smith looked good in this game. What did you think?
Yeah, he played exactly how you would a game manager, hitting the passes when he needed to. All the passes he hit with Brock Bowers were decently long plays, 12 to 18-yard plays, not just right off the line of scrimmage. And he was hitting them in stride on these, mid-tier outs and in routes and stuff. So he was hitting them on stride, on target here. So I thought Geno Smith looked good for the types of passes they were having him go. And we just have to admit it, guys. Jacoby Myers is good. I don't know if he passed 100 yards. He was right there, but he was getting a lot of the catches as well. It was the guys you would hope for in terms of the passing game for the Raiders. I don't know who you'd hope for, but essentially Bowers and Jacoby Myers were the guys. Trey Tucker caught an early touchdown, which he kind of gets those random ones. But it was, in terms of targets and receptions, it was Bowers and Jacoby Myers all day. I thought that the scoring went back and forth a little bit at a medium pace in the first half, and then that rain came down in the second half, and Drake May just lost all confidence. I thought he looked okay. I felt he held the ball a half second too long. He was getting the ball batted from behind him when he was throwing it. If he would have either taken off and run, we know he can run. If he'd either take off or dump it off a half step earlier, they would have been a lot more successful. I think he was close. I don't think he was bad. I think he was just a little late, and he needs to get some of those reads off a little earlier. Even with that bad day, he still got as many fantasy points as many of the better quarterbacks this week. So being that that's a high floor for a low game there, I'm optimistic what he can do. But yeah, they didn't do too much on offense. They only had one touchdown, I believe, early, and essentially they were playing in the mud after that.
That's right. It looks like we got a long run. Oh, almost a long touchdown run for Mr. Cook on the Buffalo Bills there. Okay, sorry. All right, moving along here.
You're ahead of me here. You're ahead of me. I see it now.
Oh, okay. Arizona Cardinals 20, New Orleans Saints 13, but this game was a lot closer than that score says. Marvin Harrison Jr. hauled in his deepest completion on a 45-yard dime and later scored on a 1-yard pass during the first scoring drive here. Trey McBride, 6 receptions, 61 yards. That's a pretty good stat line for Trey. Not great, but it's good. He was the most reliable target for Murray. And then Rattler, holding back the Saints' old guard here. New Orleans QB struggled in his debut.
Yeah, this game, it seemed like the Cardinals were going to run away with it. This was similar to the Jets game, although a lot lower scoring. And that you're watching the game, you're like, this team's got this.
Check your mic
and then
if you can hear me.
They just kind of stopped scoring. And the other, before you know it, the other team's like in the game that has the ball down by a score. Yeah, so this game, it seemed like Arizona was going to run away with it. They didn't run the ball particularly well to run out the clock. And before you knew it here, the New Orleans Saints had the ball down by a score in that last drive, and they kept moving. They got it down to the 8-yard line or so. They were throwing it into the end zone those last 3 plays that could have tied the game. But asking Rattler to do that, I guess they couldn't close the deal here, and the Cardinals finished off with a win. They looked impressive early in terms of setting the tone, but they kind of did what they do sometimes. They just coasted and let the other team almost catch up here. Kamara looked okay. He did get a touchdown. Kendra Miller didn't get much work at all, so it was still Kamara all the way in terms of the running back carries and production for the Saints. So he's still a focal part of this poor offense, but a low-scoring game, and Murray started off hot and then just coasted from there on. What else do you have on this game here?
That's really it. I think that it was one of those things. James Conner had a couple of times that he could have punched it into the end zone, and he really couldn't do it. New Orleans defense played good. The Cardinals, it should have been a bigger blowout, I think. I don't think the Cardinals played up to what they could have played based on the players that they have on that team.
Yeah, I wasn't not impressed. Olave played the whole game. He had a monster hit, like a screen pass where he kind of turned and the I'm assuming linebacker, maybe corner, came in full blast and blasted him right in the chest. We worried about Olave with his concussion history here, but it was a chest injury, if you will. That's dangerous. A chest injury. But he came back into the game, so that's good. We're always worried about those guys who have such potential, but one wrong hit could ruin their year like last year for him. So he did get that big hit, but he survived it. So we're looking for better days ahead for Olave. But again, that passing game in New Orleans doesn't have much to look forward to overall.
Yeah, they need a. I didn't see any news on Taysom Hill. Is Taysom Hill even in the league anymore? What's going on with Taysom Hill?
Well, he tore his knee up last year, so he's technically on the team, but he's on the IR for at least the first half of the year, if not the whole year.
Yeah, they need him back in there just to create some confusion.
Yep.
All right. Let's move this along to the Washington Commanders 21, New York Giants 6. Giants offense struggles. They continue. Washington defense pretty much controlled the game. This, for what I saw in this game, I watched this game early, and it was a little closer than I thought it should have been early in the game. You know, it was a little back and forth, a defensive battle going on, and then Washington kind of found their groove and ran with it.
So yeah, I felt like Washington knew they could control this game and didn't try and exert themselves, not in terms of energy, but in terms of risk, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
They did a lot of runs with Daniels and a lot of short passes. McLaurin was not too active here. Debo looked pretty good. He got the similar stuff he would have gotten in San Francisco. A couple sweeps here, a couple short digs. Nothing crazy. They weren't hyper targeting him, but when he got it, he was running through crowds. He had a touchdown run on an end around that was about a 28-yard run, but he was crashing through some people and cutting through a crowd. So he looked pretty good, honestly. He looked exactly what you would expect. Can't necessarily expect numbers to come from that every week, but he's very efficient on those plays. So I thought he looked great. The running game, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he was the man, especially in the second half. I saw Eckler there a little bit, but every time I noticed it was third down, so I don't know if he was in the game early. All right. My apologies there. I cut out for a second. I was saying at the end of the game there, it was Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt or Bill Krosky-Merritt. He was dominating the carries, and he was pounding the ball, running out the clock for the Commanders here. You mentioned it that the Giants couldn't get anything going. Malik Neighbors looked very frustrated in parts of this game. I think the Commanders just felt like they were in complete control and didn't, like I said, overexert themselves in terms of risk until they were running out the clock at the end to get a couple insurance touchdowns. And I have to say, Jaden Daniels, some guys in the pocket just look super smooth, super comfortable, not stressed. I didn't watch him that much last year. I know he had his stats and stuff. I can't think of someone else that pops in my head. I know there's been other guys. I can't think of someone. He just is back there. He's like, yeah, okay, you're rushing me. I'm just going to step to the left. I'm just going to step to the right. I'm going to run this way. I'm going to throw it that way. He's never flustered. Another long run by Derrick Henry. What is happening in this Sunday night game? Finally getting some mega studs here, people. Let's talk about this game. We'll get to it tomorrow.
I know.
But the Commanders looked like they were in complete control. Obviously, they had the pedigree in this game. There was not much scoring early. But 14-3 was a big enough lead, and then eventually, what was the final score? It was like 34-6 or something by the end.
Final score for that game was 21-6.
21-6. Yeah, so it was 14-3, and then when they got to 14-6, they just took their time, ran out the clock, and scored one more touchdown. I think the Commanders this was a business day here. They taking care of business. They didn't have to do too much in terms of scoring, but they used up a lot of clock and controlled the tempo of the game.
Yeah. And, I think the Giants need to take a really big internal look because they got players on that team. We know that Tyrone Tracy can run the ball. So I think the coach just needs to look and maybe it's just something's not fitting properly with that offense because they're not as bad as that because Washington's defense isn't as dominating. It shouldn't be as dominating as they were today against that offense. So we'll see. There's no more Tommy DeVito to go in. So let's see what happens here with the Giants.
While you mentioned that, the
All right,
rumors
anything else
are
for you on that
Jackson
one?
Dart was available to go today, and yeah, I was gonna say, can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I was gonna say Jackson Dart was dressed today. They had some packages for him. I didn't see him get in the game, but there are some rumblings that the way that this game went today, that Jackson Dart might get on the field sooner than later to become the starter for the Giants.
Yeah, and then they're all going to realize it's not the quarterback that's the problem; it's the coach. Fire Daboll.
Oh,
They fired their
there you go.
New York coach last year.
You said that. You said when it happened. Yep.
Yep.
All right. What's
All
next?
right. So We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23, Atlanta Falcons 20, and it hurts my heart to say it. This was a close battle, though. It really came down to the end. The rookie Egbuka, he got 2 touchdown passes, including 2 go-ahead 25-yarder with 59 seconds remaining. So it's just late game heroics by the Tampa Bay rookies, all led by the Baker. And I'm only going to call him that now. He doesn't even have a last name anymore. He's just going to be the Baker.
So this one got off to a hot start for Atlanta. Before I could even turn the game on, Bijan Robinson had a 50-yard reception. He looked great. And honestly, that stat he had there on that 50-yard catch for a touchdown lingered there for a while. He was stuck at that 14, 15 points. He finally got a few, added to that later to get to that 20-point mark. But they were stuffing him in terms of the run. And we know this about the Tampa Bay defense. They are a run-stuffing defensive line, and they give it up in the air. And I was kind of pleased that the Atlanta Falcons decided, not to run over and over again into a wall. Let's use the passing game with someone like Bijan Robinson, who has such a diverse skill set. So most of his production was in the passing game. It looked like the Tampa Bay Bucks were going to run away with this in that, a little bit after halftime here, as Baker was just a man. All of his scrambles, you said it last time, there's no sliding with Baker Mayfield. He was going head first into guys. I get a little nervous, he can get hurt, but you have to respect the attitude. And he was going head first into guys. He's getting up and stepping over people. I mean, he has fun. He's a football player who plays quarterback, it seems like, which makes that fun to root for him. But it looked like Atlanta was going to actually win this game Yeah, so it's easy to root for Baker Mayfield. Like I said, he's just a football player who happens to play quarterback, diving into people. It looked like they were going to run out the clock here in this game, but all of a sudden Atlanta kind of turned on their head here and was able to make some big plays in that fourth quarter. What do you got on the Atlanta Falcons and Michael Penix in particular in this comeback? Because we had a couple lead changes at the end of this game.
Oh, yeah. He had a couple of big plays, big first down runs, just diving for the pylon or diving for the first down. Getting his body to hit the ground before it went out of bounds, right at the goal line, but to get the first down. And then he had another one where he dove and got the touchdown. And he was at least diving from the 4-yard line, and it looked like the defender had his legs. He had an arm down, and he had the ball stretched, and his elbow didn't hit, his shin didn't hit, his knee didn't hit, and that ball just barely touched that goal line and flew in. So it was good to see that. And then unfortunately, Koo, he's clutch. He's ice cold sometimes. He's the new Matty Ice on the team. He missed, I believe it was a 44-yarder, and it was close. I mean, the coaches were all kind of looking and like, oh, we got to get from the right angle to see that miss. So it was unfortunate. It was a good battle. It was a good NFC South battle. We're so used to seeing these teams either just get dominated by Tampa Bay or it being just a low scoring, rut in general. So it was nice to see a high powered NFC South matchup. And it'll be exciting to see these teams play other teams down the line here.
Yeah, I will say that the Falcons had that opportunity for the field goal by Koo to try and tie it towards the buzzer because the kicker for the Tampa Bay Bucks missed the extra point. That would have made it a 4-point game. So we had 2 kickers missing clutch kicks, and it ended up going the way of the Tampa Bay Bucks by the end. That touchdown you mentioned, I was my wife and I were watching that particular play at the same time. We were kind of locking in, and he started to dive, and I'm like, there's no way his second knee didn't scrape the ground. But he did like a one-handed push-up kind of look where he kind of just split with his legs and his hand. I don't know how that second knee didn't get out in front. A lot of times guys trip and that front knee gets on the ground first, but he did kind of a little bit of a split, one-handed push-up, and then reached across with that football hand. Yeah, that was a very impressive touchdown.
Yeah, I think with the defender trying to wrap him up at the ankles might have helped elevate like that forward progress, and then like getting lifted off by the defender's hands might have helped his legs stay up there. It was pretty amazing to see in slow motion for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next game.
All right, the next game, not a lot going on here. Carolina Panthers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. There was a 1 p.m. kickoff, and for some reason I didn't write the score down. We'll come back to that one. Let's go to the 4 o'clock game. That was the last one.
We can go through that game real quick because there's only 2 things to talk about, and we'll just be done with it. This game, we had Brian Thomas Jr. have a rushing touchdown to get things started. ETN was getting chunk play after chunk play. We had a long lightning and a rain delay in the early part of the game here, and I couldn't tell who was worse today, Tua Tagovailoa or Bryce Young. He was throwing the same type of interceptions, just throwing to nobody. Tedro McMillan, I can't blame him because the ball wasn't around him. He ended up with a few targets and a couple catches, nothing to write home about. But Carolina went back to their old ways, gave up rushing plays to teams that aren't that good on the ground, and Bryce Young was not as savvy as he was last year. I mean, he just lost 3 of his receivers in the last week, but it was back to the old Carolina, and Jacksonville got off to a nice start and a win at home. And we can end that one right there if you want, unless you got a little more.
Yeah, it was Jacksonville 26, Carolina 10.
Yeah.
So, all right. Moving along here. Denver, 4 o'clock games here going on here now. Denver Broncos 20, Tennessee Titans 12. And this game started off and it looked pretty shaky for the Denver Broncos. J.K. Dobbins' debut included an excellent cutback on an inside ride. He was like a pinball exiting to the left. You know, Dobbins, he maintained the balance. He sprinted to the end zone for his first score as a Bronco. Rookie R.J. Harvey got involved in the fourth, too. He ripped it off the 50-yard run, helping set up Dobbins' touchdown. So strong debut by Denver's backfield, revamped backfield, I should say here.
So I saw that Dobbins had that touchdown, but I didn't see him get a lot of carries unless I just was not looking up when he did. I didn't see him get a lot of carries in that first half of play. It felt like it was Harvey and it was Nix doing a lot of throwing and running around. Did you happen to notice how much work Dobbins got and when it was in the game?
No, I didn't get a snap count percentage in that or a rushing attempt in my note here. But it wasn't an overload. It wasn't the workhorse bell cow sort of deal with J.K. Dobbins. But the times he was touching the ball, he looked good. I think Denver did a good job offensively of game planning and not just being one dimensional.
As this game was going on in the first half or so, give or take, I was watching like Tennessee's going to win this game. This is just like they played last year. They were sticking with teams, but I was like, this time they're not throwing those stupid interceptions that Will Levis has. That's all they need, but they couldn't get in the end zone. They kept kicking field goals, and by the end, the 1 or 2 touchdowns by the 2 touchdowns by the Broncos were way more than the 4 field goals by the Titans there. And by the end, Cam Ward was starting to get a little harassed. He was started out throwing fine percentage-wise, but ended around 50%. Actually had a pretty bad day by the end of it. But I don't think he had any interceptions. He did get sacked, I think, 4 to 6 times. So he did have a lot of sacks on his way, which is to be expected by these rookies. But the other thing I noticed was that Bo Nix, how kind of I was saying Jaden Daniels just looks so smooth and in control. Bo Nix looks like he wants to be that guy, but isn't quite that guy. Like he's having fun, he's smiling, he's telling guys where to go, but he's doing it as he's coming off the ground, getting sacked or throwing the ball away in a weird way. Like he's very confident where he is with his teammates, but he's not. I don't think he's quite that smooth or confident in the game as Jaden Daniels is. Now that's not a fair comparison between those type of players here. They're both first round draft picks, but he commands his respect of his teammates, but I don't think he quite has the respect of the game quite yet.
Yeah, you know what Bo Nix is, and the only reason I say this is because I hang out with an Auburn fan, and she she really likes to watch those games even back when they were bad. And Bo Nix was on an Auburn team, and Bo Nix to me is the epitome of fake it till you make it.
I think that's right.
I think he is there. He's on the cusp of making it. I mean, he's made it. He's an NFL starting quarterback for a very good Denver Broncos team. So I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing that I want to be so comfortable, just like those starter superstars. And I think he will be. I think he's going to be okay. He's made it. You made it there, Bowie.
All right. What is our next game here?
All right, next game we have up is the San Francisco 49ers 17, Seattle Seahawks 13. Another divisional battle game here, NFC West battle, and close, good, defensive game here. 49ers tight end George Kittle exited the game. Obviously, we talked about that earlier. And it was good to see McCaffrey there. Brock Purdy looked okay. Sam Darnold looked okay. Neither of them looked great, but they didn't look bad. So I think this was just a really good divisional game, a little bit of back and forth. I don't think we can take anything out of this game besides the injuries going forward. I think we need to stick with what we thought before this game going into week 2.
So I got a couple things here. This is similar to last year for the 49ers with a lot of injuries here. They're best when they have their full complement of offensive options, because they're very much like, we're going to disguise things on this way and we're going to get someone open on the backside, but you have to have respect for everyone on the field for that to work. And when they have missing guys, it's hard to get that respect from other players on the field there. And once again, though, Jake Moody, I hate to rag on a kicker here, he's missing kicks, keeping these games closer than they need to be. Seattle had a chance late in this game once again, similar to how New Orleans had a chance against the Cardinals, that they just hung around just enough, down by a score late in the game, had the ball, and these missed kicks don't shut the door here on these teams when you can make this a 2-score game late in the fourth quarter. There's already rumors of him being not invited back on the plane or the bus, whatever they take him back tonight. He's really costing him some of these games. Last year, they didn't have much hope because of all the injuries, but they lost games last year that they should have won. They were up by and several games last year. So Jake Moody is hate to talk about kickers here, but kickers are actually important in our league, and he's been a kind of a bust lately. But I want to ask you, we were begging and talking about Kenneth Walker. I was nervous about. I was going to go on the optimistic side because I like the coaching philosophy and all that stuff, and I like his skill set as far as we know it. We're giving him excuses based on bad quarterback play, or not bad, medium quarterback play, bad offensive line play. But is he good? Can he be good, or is he DeAndre Swift type? We were fighting over this guy in the third round. You took him. I was mad at you, and I looked down at your roster, and you sat him today, and it looked like the right move. After that first drive, he was not on the field for a good 15, 16 minutes straight. Charbonnet didn't look great, but Charbonnet was moving the ball forward a couple yards at a time, punched in a short touchdown. I know you were watching this game a little more intently than I was, especially that backfield, now that you have him on your roster, and made that risky decision, which was a brilliant one. What made you decide to sit him? What did you see when you watched that game? Tell me a little bit about your scouting on Kenneth Walker.
So basically what I saw was just the hesitation to get him in his sweet spot. So I don't know what's going on with either the offensive coordinator or the running backs coach or something, but Kenneth Walker's got this sweet spot. Kenneth Walker has got this, if he gets out into the flat, if he can hit the edge, and maybe they're just not setting the edge right, he is dangerous. When he just needs a couple little moves, a couple little gaps where he can just hit it and go. He's gonna dominate. But for some reason, whatever the game planning was around that, it just didn't seem like it didn't fit him. It fit Zach Charbonnet's style of a little bit more of a hit the hole or hit the line a little harder than what Kenneth Walker I think is good at. Now, not to say Kenneth Walker can't hit the line hard. I just see him excel more when he's got space. And they just couldn't create the space for him. I had a feeling going into this game, though, that Zach Charbonnet, just based on the preseason and all of the training camp stuff, that it wasn't going to be a clear-cut give all the workload, 70-30 split to Kenneth Walker. So based on my team and what I had going on, George Kittle took that spot and not Kenneth Walker. But if George Kittle would have stayed healthy, I might have gotten more than 10 points out of him.
Yeah, so that game started at 4:05, and when the other games, the 1 o'clock games ending, a little bit past that, I didn't turn it on until after the first drive, and all I saw was Charbonnet. I didn't see Walker at all when I was watching the field, and then I looked back and he had like 3 carries on that first drive. Do you think, maybe I was missing, were they going series to series and I just happened to miss a series in there with Walker, or was it like a soft benching? Because I saw it seemed like 12 minutes straight of Charbonnet in the middle of the first quarter towards the end of the first half.
No, I think a lot of it was Charbonnet was either already in and they just kept running it with him. It wasn't necessarily like a soft benching or anything. I think it was just they thought they had a better chance to execute whatever plays they were calling, whatever packages they had with Charbonnet. Now, if there was something going on behind the scenes as far as he might have tweak something and they don't want to say anything, or if he might have,
but he came in the second half. Walker was playing this, he didn't get the ball a lot, but he was on the field a lot in that second half.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't think there was any, I think it was just all of a game plan thing. I don't think there was anything going on besides Zach Charbonnet is in this package, let's get him going. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what to say. The only reason he wasn't in my lineup is because I didn't have a strong enough feeling. I had a stronger feeling for Kittle than I did for Charbonnet based on what was going to happen with the team around him. Kittle needed to step up because of all the injuries that was going on. So,
I say this in a relative manner and not, I don't know the guy. I'm wondering, I don't know this, if Kenneth Walker is obviously an explosive athlete and has moves, but I'm wondering if he's like a dumb football player. Like he's not doing what the coaches are asking him to do.
Maybe he's missing blocking assignments and I'm just not seeing it because they're not calling it out on the field.
Right.
The announcers aren't focused on it. But if that's the issue, they need to fix it because Zach Charbonnet is just basically Warren over in Pittsburgh. He's good when Najee was starting and he could come in and make himself look better because Najee wasn't doing that well. Same thing going with Charbonnet. If you make Charbonnet that starter, he's not going to be your RB1. He's an RB2, RB3 starter on a team. It's like he's not the number one guy. He shouldn't be the number one.
I wonder, we're spending a little too much time here on Walker, but I'm wondering if they should almost start Charbonnet to let him like soften up the defense and let the fresh, fast Walker come in and only get a few carries, but when he comes in there like the super efficient carry, we've seen that in the past with teams. Like you have the one guy as the bruiser, and then you get that like almost like Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't come into the second quarter in years past, and then he gets a couple long runs because Montgomery's softened up the defense a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that'll come down to the player and their personality. I think over there in like Detroit, I think those guys understand the system. They respect Dan Campbell. They respect each other as runners, and then they're willing to play their role, do their job, right? I don't know if Walker and Charbonnet are set up like that. If Walker's like, fuck you. If you're gonna, sorry, if Walker's gonna be like, forget this. I'm the starter. If you're gonna start this guy, then I'll just be back over here on the bench and I'll ask my agent to ask for a trade later.
All right, let's get on to our next game here. What else you got?
All right, where are we here? We have one more game, I think.
Perfect.
What did we just do?
We just did the Seattle game. So we have Detroit.
The Seattle game. Okay. Yep, we got Detroit. We got two more games here. Green Bay Packers 27, Detroit Lions 13. Jordan Love looked okay. He threw a pair of touchdowns. Parsons had a sack. Green Bay in his debut. He delivered a great defensive performance, obviously, against the Detroit Lions, but how much of that was because no Ben Johnson? I'll let you talk. I got a couple other things, but go ahead.
That was the curious question going in here. One, it's a tough place to play on the road in Green Bay. The Detroit Lions did win there last year. A couple things caught my attention. One, Josh Jacobs. He's on that every other year plan where he's really good on his even years and not awful, but not as good as the year prior on his odd years. And he's on his odd year now, or even whatever the opposite year is. So you're a little nervous if it's but he was on the Raiders before. Now he's on a good team. So is that alternating years gone? Now he's on a good team. He looked fine, but last year Jordan Love was not healthy. He tweaked his knee and among other things, and that's when Jacobs started, and the receivers also got banged up, and Jacobs took over. This time, again, Jacobs looked just as good, but they definitely featured Jordan Love a lot more. He was throwing the ball around in that first half. Like you said, the Green Bay defense was controlling this game here, making big stops on third downs. Detroit was moving the ball a little bit every once in a while, would have a nice big play, but they couldn't string 3 or 4 plays together. They ended up scoring field goals a couple times in that first half. They scored late to make it a little closer than it really was, but Green Bay just manhandled them essentially, and I don't know how much of that had to do with the change of offensive coaches. They lost a lot of coaches, not just their offensive coordinator, did Detroit. Yeah. Usually get poached when you're a good team, but coaching staff-wise. But I think Green Bay made a statement today, and their crowd was really fired up for their defense all day long.
I think so too. It was surprising, but not overly surprising. I thought it might have been a little bit closer of a game, even if Green Bay would have eked it out, But I'm not too worried about the Lions. It's game one. It's a division game. Dan Campbell, they all know him and respect him. And I think that team will get better than this. I don't know if the offense will get as good as last year, but they will definitely get better than 13 points.
And the other thing I noticed, we always assume, we thought it happened last year, maybe even the year before. David Montgomery has been great. And like we said, he's kind of he deserves all the respect he gets. He gets numbers and touchdowns. I'm not saying he's just a plotter. He's better than that. But he's the guy who, again, softens the defense up for Jahmyr Gibbs. But we're thinking as years go on, as Montgomery gets a little older, he's coming off a little bit of injuries last year. We're like, this is the year Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get all the carries. They still featured David Montgomery a lot in that first half, especially. And even when they got Jahmyr Gibbs the ball, the story today was the defense for the Green Bay. They bottled up Gibbs more than I've ever seen Gibbs bottled up on runs. He was getting strung out with multiple pursuers, closing off the front lane and then sealing off the back door. I was kind of surprised how much how much Montgomery was getting work over Jahmyr Gibbs, just how much we're hoping that it changes over. They've never indicated us that they're going to hand the keys over to Gibbs, but we're assuming it's going to happen sooner than later, and it hasn't happened yet, at least in week 1. And even when they both got the carries here, they were getting stopped by a very impressive defense today.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, what's our last game? Yep.
LA Rams 14, Houston Texans 9. So low-scoring defensive battle. The Texans' offensive line struggled against the Rams' ferocious pass rush, and the LA defense just dominates without any major offensive fireworks. Really, is what this came down to.
This game was very similar to the Tennessee-Denver game, honestly, except with a little better star power, a little prettier to watch, but low-scoring game. One team was getting field goals. The other team was getting a couple touchdowns when they needed it. Big turnovers for both teams in the last drives there, as the team with the ball the team on defense needed to make a stop to have a chance to come back, and both teams did it at the end. Puka Nacua, they kept throwing him in routes, like deeper in routes, like that, 12 to 18 yards, and every time he turned in, he was getting his face blown up, but he never dropped the ball. This guy is impressive with his strength, his toughness. He gets battered, but he's a big guy. He takes it. His eye got slight. I wasn't sure if he got a concussion because he turned his face right into someone diving at it and his whole neck bounced back in. You're like, uh-oh. He was fine, except that he sliced his eyelid up, taped that up, came back in, got hit in the face again, checked him for a concussion, came back in again, had 10 catches. He would have had more catches if he wasn't in the blue tent, a couple times every other drive. He was a man. Devontae Adams got 7 catches and a couple really nice he's really good on that sideline, man, with spinning around as the ball's coming in and keeping his feet in bounds. So the receivers stepped up for the Rams. CJ Stroud, man, he looked like he did last year. Not awful, not great. He was on our dud list again. He doesn't have that Jaden Daniels where he looks super. He doesn't look overwhelmed, but he doesn't look like, oh, I got this. This is easy. And he looked like every once in a while he'd get sacked, and he wasn't in control. Now, I think LA Rams have a good defense. They are a young fire starter of a defense, and I think they're only going to get better. But this was an ugly game in terms of offensively for the Texans. I thought Nick Chubb looked actually okay, especially the longer the game went. He didn't get a lot of carries because they were behind. I think he's similar to Derrick Henry, not their skill set at this age. If he's in games that are winning, he's going to be way more productive. Games that he's not a comeback running back. He's not their pass catcher. They had Agumbawali in there and Woody Marks when they were trying to come back at the end. But in the running downs, I thought he looked fine. So if they can get some leads against teams, like Jacksonville and Carolina later in the year, I think those are the games that Chubb can be good. But in this type of game, Chubb is just going to be schemed out of the game.
Exactly. And let's just chalk it up to week 1. These aren't bad teams. They just couldn't find their footing in this first game. All right, that's our slate of games for this week so far. Still to play, the Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills on Sunday, and Minnesota Vikings and Chicago Bears on Monday night.
So it looked like Buffalo was going to lose this game here, but they scored a touchdown on a 4th down on a ricochet off a helmet to the back of the end zone. Then we got a fumble, I think, from Derrick Henry. They were getting ready to score again. They're down 8 with 2.5 minutes left. They're getting ready to score to maybe tie this game up. We'll see. They're going to need a 2-point conversion as well. They were just down by 18 points with 7 minutes left in this game, and now they might tie it with 2 to go. This is crazy. Finally, we have a bonanza here. All right. After all these games, some answers might have been some questions might have been answered in terms of running backs we thought were going to be the bell cow, but ended up splitting time and vice versa. What are some early waiver wire targets due to injury or due to role that you're starting to notice here?
All right. So let's preface this by just saying, we are in a league and most of our viewers are watching this, but we're going to broaden this just a little bit outside of our league. So top week 2 waiver wire pickups, just a brief little rundown. Hollywood Brown, look for him to be there in your smaller leagues. Quentin Johnson, the Los Angeles wide receiver, he caught 5 passes on 7 targets for 79 yards. He's only 5 to 7% rostered in Yahoo leagues right now. He ran 88% of the routes with a 21% target share. So circle him twice if you need some help there. Keenan Allen, if he's available, he led the team with 29% of the target share, catching a touchdown in week 1. Kayshawn Boutte, wide receiver for New England, he had a strong week 1 performance. Keep him circled there as well. Obviously, Daniel Jones. He shouldn't be on anybody's waiver wire after the week 1 performance. And then a couple running backs just to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on Kenneth Gainwell. He's played 50% of the offensive snaps in week 1. Just keep an eye on him. Trey Benson, keep an eye on him as well. He's splitting some time there. And that's really all I got so far, just as a quick little what happened in Sunday without diving too deep.
I will also say we had some big kicker scores today, and a couple of those kickers were free agents, at least in our league, and they're teams that you wouldn't think about. And I kind of think about teams that either one, play in good weather and or domes, of course, but also teams that are like pretty good but don't have that like if you have a Josh Allen who can get the ball in the end zone and you get close, you need teams that can struggle at the end. Tennessee, they could not score in the end zone, but they moved the ball enough with Pollard and Cam Ward. So you got Joey Sly for the Titans. Might be a sneaky play there as they get field goals instead of touchdowns. We also had Schrader for the Colts. Now, that might have been a Dolphins thing as they were scoring every time down the field. But those are some guys that aren't people that were probably drafted that are kickers that might give you some points going forward. And in terms of defense, I'm looking at just some of the defense available. I don't see any great matchups here. The only one that catches my attention is Dallas and New York Giants are both available in our league, and they're playing each other next week. So if you think the Giants are really going to struggle the way they did today against the Commanders, Dallas had a little bit of a tough go against the Eagles, but it was the Eagles. So maybe against the Giants, the Dallas might be able to get a little better performance next week in the week 2's matchup.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll have to say about the waiver wire stuff, and we'll get into a deeper dive in the next episode here, but focus your fab spending on players who can make a more immediate impact in your starting lineup rather than long term. Don't blow your fab dollar on a handcuff or anything like that.
I totally agree. All right, guys. Thank you so very much for joining us on this week 1's 2-point conversation. I'd like to thank you all so very much for watching and or listening to another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. Don't forget, you can find us on many podcast platforms out there. If you find us, just search Wingman the League. We'll pop to the top of your search. Leave a high rating, leave a comment. Let us know how we can do better, and let us know what parts you like. We're going to try and get some more interviews with the head coach, Mike, from the Dolphins. I think that was kind of fun there. And if you want to see our graphics, if you want to see Coach Mike, it might have sounded okay, but it looked even more glorious. Trust me. Go ahead to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. When you head over there, guys, do me the favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, and we'll get you in our next mailbag segment. All right, guys, with that being said, may your glasses be full, your mug stay frosty.
And remember, fake it till you make it.
Very good. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.